Hi, and welcome to this edition of Tiger Broadcast. I'm Reagan Clark.
And I'm Sydney Stansel. In this edition, we'll take a look on what makes a typical Friday night tick.
Then, we'll see how some trendy teens are saving money.
And take a glimpse on how our military program overcomes some obstacles.
All this and more on this edition of Tiger Broadcast. Lots of students attend Friday night football. What most students don't know, however, is the man that makes it all work. Reporter Kyle Girding with photographers Carly Roberts and Sydney Stansel bring us this next story.
Going to football games can be fun, but you can miss a play in an instant. Luckily, there's a voice behind all the madness to keep you in the game.
He's like the main coordinator, the brain of the operation. He makes sure everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing.
The man behind the microphone is a familiar face you may have seen around Lee Summit High School.
It started many years ago. The announcer before me asked me if I wanted to help him since I was coming to the football games anyway. So I went up in the press box and it was just kind of helping out up there, and it was a lot of fun. And then a couple years later it turned into me being the announcer.
The role of wearing the headset gives him leadership, but it also asks for accountability.
So I announce ball carriers, who made the tackle, penalties, down and distance. Trying to keep the crowd involved in the game as much as I can.
Announcing a football game is not just showing up and calling out what goes down. There's plenty of pre-game preparation that is needed.
I go through the rosters. I know our kids. I know the kids that I'm going to be saying quite a bit. I will track down the opposing coaches, get some insight from them on what names I might be calling quite a bit. I will check pronunciations if there's any tough ones. I know I mispronounce them along the way, but I do my best not to. And then there's always pregame activities, scripts, senior nights, awards, ceremonies, and I'll get myself ready.
All of this planning can seem like a difficult task. Fortunately for Mr. Melody, there are more people crammed in the press box than you might think.
So it's not just me up there calling things out. There's clock guys, there's media guys. It really is organized chaos.
Within all the mayhem, the press box crew still keeps it professional.
We like to have fun, but we like to be serious. We don't want to make the mistake to cause the field, determine something bad on the field happen. So we have fun, but we're serious.
There's plenty of fun to have and lots of room for error, but they continue to get the job done.
I will watch the offense, ball carrier, who made the catch, and then there's 2 or 3 guys behind me watching the defense, seeing who made the tackle, and then they will feed me that information. So,
after 11 years of announcing, Mr. Melody has become very familiar with the field.
I think I know the athletes pretty well. I know when to really get excited, when the crowd's going to be excited, and I can play into that one.
With his passion for sports and spirit for our school, it doesn't look like Mr. Melody will be leaving the press box anytime soon. Signing out for Tiger Broadcast.
Touchdown, Tigers!
This is Kyle Girding.
Buying clothes can make a big dent in our wallets. Some teens, however, have found a way to save money on trends. Reporter Lena Wynn and videographer Reagan Clark shows us how.
In the past, the more name brand the clothing, the better. But now, a lower price tag has more appeal.
So I think over the years, people have started focusing more on what exactly they're wearing rather than who they're wearing.
Thrifting, shopping at retail stores with a lower price tag, is at an all-time high. According to ThredUp, the amount of people who thrift has been up from 45% in 2016 to 64% in 2018.
I guess it just kind of allows you to shop without so much pressure of oh, this is expensive, or oh, am I gonna like this? Will it fit well?
It's always original stuff. Thrifting is so fun. I've been thrifting with a lot of my friends, and they can give you input.
You can get some more individual things that no one else is gonna have, and then they can be oh, where'd you get that? And you're the thrift store, and it's really fun.
Perhaps one of the most popular benefits to thrifting is all the dollars saved.
You can kind of just experiment with things and try things, and it doesn't really matter, because if something's $3 and you're not sure about it, you can get it.
If you go to these high-end stores that everybody shops at, everything's going to be expensive because Everyone's shopping there.
And like thrift store jeans are like $5 to $8, like usually within that realm, compared to 30 to even 100.
But beyond the clothes themselves is a benefit from thrifting that helps the world we live in.
There is so much clothing waste, so much unused, unworn, unbought clothing, and it's constantly going into our landfills.
If you buy something secondhand, then you can like avoid the process of having like a company produce that much more.
So by thrifting, you are basically just reusing, and you're not creating more waste and encouraging companies to produce.
Although recycling clothes has its advantages, it comes with a stylistic downside.
Like if you find a shirt in Forever 21 that you love, chances are you're probably not going to find something similar at the thrift store.
But for such a low price tag, it's worth giving thrifting a try.
But it's worth a shot, and it's even if you don't, it's a good thing to focus on buying sustainable clothing and maybe avoiding like fast fashion stores.
Thrifting like supports people for their individuality.
And ultimately, you're helping out the environment and people everywhere.
Reporting for Tiger Broadcast, I'm Lena Nguyen.
Plenty of programs and groups have challenges that require perseverance. Junior ROTC is no different. Reporter Olivia McKee with photographers Cassidy Duffin and Emma Osterly shows how cadets are fighting these obstacles.
New additions and changes happen in many schools. For one Lee Summit High School group, JROTC, this is especially true.
We get evaluated from headquarters Junior ROTC, so we have somebody that comes from Maxwell Air Force Base. They are in charge of our program overall nationwide, and so they come from the Air Force. They come to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do, but it's also a time for us to showcase what we do well. And so it's a time for us to shine.
It may be difficult for them to shine because of the lack of cadets in the program.
Federal law says that you have to have minimum numbers. And so those minimum numbers include either 100 cadets or 10% of your school, whichever is less. We meet the minimum criteria for that. So it's very important that we meet that 100 number.
Even though recruitment is low, they are prepared to interest more cadets to invest their time into the program.
We're trying to get our cadets out there. We're trying to get cadets involved in other activities. That way people say, oh, look at him. Look what he's doing. Isn't he a part of ROTC? Maybe I should try and join that. We're also trying to increase visuality throughout the school. So we're kind of updating and upgrading some of our poster boards that we have throughout the school.
Along with numbers being lower, they have experienced another bump in the road due to the resignation of a major team player, but Sargent is willing to pull out all the stops to achieve greatness.
So Colonel Milligan, when he was here last year and previous 7 years, he had a big role in just planning the entire year. He would build the calendar for the year and kind of our battle rhythm, so to speak, how we would look for the entire year. And so without him here, I've had to take that role on.
Sargent hasn't been the only one stepping up to the plate to help take on Colonel's responsibilities.
As far as like taking our responsibilities, I think with the inspection, like me building the slides and each of the cadets on staff going through all the whole inspection list, I think that's a major responsibility we've taken on. We also have to like organize everything better and like do it our way and not his way that we were used to, because without him, his way doesn't really work for us. So like we have to adapt and like overcome and push through all these different obstacles.
As we head further into the school year, JROTC will continue to take on these new responsibilities and accomplish their goals for this year. Signing out for Tiger Broadcast, I'm Olivia McKee.
Boys have dominated the game of football for years. Now one female student is challenging that notion. Reporter PZ Lauk and videographers Michaela Humble and Vaughn Doe show us how.
Students all over the country have lots of options to choose from when it comes to high school classes. One RAPEC student, Samantha Archer, is taking full advantage of her options.
I'm a sophomore. I like to make sure I keep my grades at a high average, and I like to enter into a lot of art competitions. So I take a lot of art classes at school. That way I can have like an upper hand whenever I enter into these competitions, and I have my pieces that are made that a teacher can critique before I enter them.
From pine cones to Tootsie Rolls, Samantha puts pride in everything she does, and after a long day's work of academics, she heads onto the field for practice. What practice, you may ask? Depends on the season. From tackling competitors in wrestling to scoring touchdowns, she's got a full schedule.
I don't have a lot of free time anymore because all my free time goes towards football and my other sports.
Since middle school, she's put a focus on Friday Night Lights. Facing junior varsity competitors, this offensive lineman suits up and leads the way to victory.
I've been playing since 8th grade, so this is my 3rd year. It just looked like a lot of fun, and I used to play with my brothers like in the backyard all the time. And once I started playing, I just couldn't get enough of it.
To Sammy, this is more than just a game. It's a family.
So since I started in 8th grade, there's my friends who have carried on throughout, and so we're just like really good friends outside of football because we've had football to bond over.
After all, football isn't all fun and games. Samantha's life runs on a tight schedule.
It makes it very busy. Football is like breads, carbs, all I can eat. And then with wrestling, it's like salads, fruits, lean proteins.
Despite the business of it all, Samantha recommends to anyone interested in sports to start as soon as possible.
Sports are definitely easier if you start at like a younger age because then you know the boys before they're kind of in their cliques and their groups of guys they're used to playing with.
Reporting for Tiger Broadcast, this is PZ Lauk.
As the new year rolls in, LSHS students must get back into school habits. But some Tigers must adjust to a new routine. Reporter Lily Walker with photographers Abigail Follis and Amaya House bring us this story.
As the school year is now in full swing, many students are returning to the same routine as the year before. Though for some LSHS students, this school year brings a new opportunity because they are in a new building.
I moved like 3 years ago and I had to transfer to West my freshman and sophomore year, but my sophomore year I gained so many more friends here and it was just more convenient from where I live.
On December 18th, 2018, the Lee Summit School District approved new boundary changes. This meant some 8th graders from Summit Lakes Middle School as well as some students from West would become Tigers. Some think that switching high schools would be a tough change.
It's really not that big of a difference. I would just say like the only difference is like this school's older.
Junior Gracie Cox and sophomore Kennedy Schuster did not shy away from any change. They didn't waste any time getting involved and finding their favorite things about LSHS.
Definitely the people here and the teachers, they are all so welcoming and they just were so nice when I first came here, and it was just so easy to make so many more friends.
Probably the people because they're very welcoming, and I feel like when I come to Lee Summit, it's very homey.
I'm involved on Varsity Tigerettes. I feel like this dance team is more professional-wise. I love the coaches, and I love all of the people on it. No one's cliquey, we're just like one big family, and everyone is so sweet to one another.
While Gracie is excited about the new year, there are a few things she will miss about West.
I definitely miss our home football games with all the people there and our student section.
Signing off for Tiger Broadcast, this is Lily Walker.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of Tiger Broadcast. For sports, packages, and more, visit www.tigerbroadcast.com.
And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at TBTB8Tigers. Once again, I'm Sydney Stansel.
And I'm Reagan Clark. See you next time.
So I announce, ball carriers.
So much unused, unworn, unbought clothing.
So like we have to adapt and like overcome.
Playing, I just couldn't get enough of it.
When I come to Lee Summit, it's very homey.